Hey, what's going on, Trojan family? What is up, and welcome to the USC LAFB show here on the LAFB network. This is your daily source for USC Trojans news. Huge breaking news in the college football world. I'm sure you all have at least heard of it or heard that it has happened, but the House and the NCAA settlement that will essentially award revenue sharing for student athletes, legalizing, I guess, the verbiage of pay to play, if you will, with cap limits. And then now this shifts things with NIL and how collectives can go about doing things. We knew this was coming. Didn't know exactly when it would actually go through and settle. It also, which I won't talk too much about, but it has language in it that past players from a certain time frame are going to get paid out. There's like the tune of like 2.9 billion or whatever is going to be allocated for players that essentially missed out on NIL during a certain time period. But this is huge news, obviously, for the game of college football, but entirely how it pertains to the USC Trojans. I am still kind of learning all of it. I didn't take any legal classes. So my law practice of Dyrud and Sons is not necessarily the wisest or up to par. So I'm still kind of learning and researching, but I at least want to jump on here and give my initial thoughts based on what I believe this means and based on some conversations I have had with other people who think kind of on the similar line based on what we've seen that has been released. And from the jump, this is fantastic for USC. So from everything I have heard, this is only going to benefit USC, not hurt them. So anything you see out there of other programs, and I've seen a lot, like obviously USC is back as a brand and as like a power, at least in terms of this recruiting cycle, because of how much attack they get from all sides. So that alone tells you they're on their way back. Got to prove it on the field. We've talked about that many times. But from behind the scenes in the recruiting world, they are back. You can just see it by how people immediately are like, okay, the downfall. This is going to be the downfall of USC. Oh, they can't pay players like they have now. So that's not true. This is going to benefit USC 100%. This actually is how I initially viewed what NIL would be 5 years ago when it was first discussed and how it would benefit the likes of USC. And that's not the revenue side, but what this now means for collectives NIL. This is how I believed it would be and how it would benefit USC versus schools like Alabama and even Georgia, Oregon, obviously. But I'll get to that in a second. So first, the actual what's the basics of this new settlement. First off, the revenue share agreement is around $20.5 million for the athletic department as a whole to be split up. So a school is capped at $20.5 million per fiscal year to pay out. Now the thought is that most, at least kind of the blue blood programs, will allocate almost 80 to 90% of that to football and basketball. Football being like probably 70%. Obviously basketball you have a lot less players and personnel. So football at USC will probably get 75% of this $20.5 million of this revenue share cap. So that's like direct money paid from the athletic department, from the school, within their revenue share. So not every school will be able to reach that number. All the top ones will, I'm sure. Oregon, Alabama. I mean, they're going to have no problem cutting a $20 million check each year based on the revenue they've earned from their programs. I mean, football makes a ton of money for USC, Ohio State, Michigan, Alabama, Auburn, all the powers that be. So they'll have no problem. The others, some of the smaller schools, some of the maybe lesser Big 12 schools, lesser ACC schools, certainly some of the Division 5 schools, some of the Mountain West schools and likes, are not going to be able to get to that even $20.5 million cap because they just won't earn that much revenue. They won't be able to hit that number. So they're kind of at a disadvantage in that regard, but they've been at a disadvantage this whole time. So that it really doesn't change. That shift doesn't change a whole lot. So that's kind of the initial part of this is you're guaranteed, let's call it 15 plus or right around, let's call it 15 million a year budget from just the university USC will have. So that's huge, right? Because we talk about these recruiting classes are costing, in that ballpark of 10 to 15 million. Then you've got the rest of your roster. Well, now you've got your entire either roster or recruiting class covered just from a RevShare standpoint. Now, the way it has shifted NIL and collectives, and this, again, I'm still kind of dissecting all of it, but now any NIL deal, which the basis of NIL is like, branding, name, image, and license. It's not pay to play. There has to be a business transaction. So this is now going to somewhat actual supervise, if you will, what these NIL deals are, and they have to have kind of a business transaction attached to it. Anything over $600 will now go through a process with Deloitte and their new kind of NIL Go firm, which is strictly for NIL, to be passed or to be approved, if you will. Now, this is going to cause a lot of lawsuits, and, there's going to be a lot of, discretion of, what actually decides what's a business transaction, what's not. It's going to be a mess. But on the surface, it's basically saying, okay, you have your RevShare now. A donor cannot just be like, hey, I'm giving you $1 million to give to this kid to get him on campus. There has to be okay, I'm a donor. I also own Mercedes, so I'll give you $1 million. They have to do X amount of social media posts. They have to do meet and greets, and that's kind of the NIL transaction. There has to actually be a business, which even prior to what NIL for USC is now, House of Victory always had done that. They played so within the rules of, and to be honest, for everyone now coming after USC, it's kind of hilarious because just last year, there were recruits lost because they didn't want to have to do the actual NIL agreement. They didn't want to be and do all these appearances and do the business side of it. They just wanted to get paid out. And so that's why they lost some recruits last year. So now this is kind of forcing in a way that is the extra incentive. So you get your 20.5 RevShare. You can get now NIL on top of that and add to that. And it doesn't go against the cap. So theoretically, let's just say, and I don't have the figures for sure, obviously I'm not in those rooms, but let's just say USC's kind of NIL budget for this fiscal year with their 2026 class and with their current roster is in the likes of 30 million, let's just call it. I don't think it's that high, but let's just call it 30 million. That 30 million is all donor raised NIL collective money right now. So now just add 20.5 to that. Well, not 20, 15 million, because obviously some go to the other athletics. You're pushing 40 to 50 million now with your total yearly budget. So, that's huge in that regard, that everything they're doing now, you just add on an extra 15 mil to it. It's strictly, essentially pay for play. Call it RevShare, it's pay for play. Now, the side that everyone was kind of jumping on saying, well, yeah, this is going to hurt USC, or they're not going to be able to do this now because blah, 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 is this whole verbiage a little bit that's been confusing that talks about, these NIL deals have to be associated with a business transaction, but also have to be fair market value. So you can't necessarily, this is where the language got confused and where people, in which I have said, USC wasn't buying players, but when people out there were like, oh wow, so USC bought Mark Bowman for whatever they think, 8 to 10 million, I think it's less than that, bought him. When in reality, based on what I heard, USC matched Texas. Whatever the figure you think and you've heard, they matched or maybe a little upped it. Meaning, that's market value. There was a competitive offers for a player, and the higher offer won out. What's different is if one player's biggest offer is, let's say, $100,000, and then USC comes in and offers $2 million. That's then just transactional buying. But when it's a free agency offer, that differentiates things because that's market value. Also, what comes into play in market value is location and Los Angeles. And the market value in LA is going to be much different than the market value of Tuscaloosa, Alabama, than Eugene, Oregon, than just about anywhere other than maybe Miami. So teams like USC and Miami are only going to benefit more from these market value terms because of the market that they play in. Like, that's just how kind of business works. And if they're making this more of business transactions, the programs in bigger markets are actually going to benefit more than these college town markets because of the market you have to advertise, to brand, to play in. So it's going to be a huge benefit for USC because of everything at their disposal, everything that Chad Bowden has been telling everyone that would listen. Now that they've heard him say it, they should say, yeah, he was right. USC is the place to be because they have everything. Everything you could want, they have, and they're within the rules of doing it. So this is going to be a huge benefit for USC moving forward. And they have been absolutely preparing for this. Is, I think, what's most exciting, if you're a USC fan, is I'm sure everyone saw, the tweet now at the USC football account with Chad Bowden talking about, and he said it a few weeks ago or months ago, but basically saying, like, we are preparing for the future, like we're embracing change. I can't wait for it to get here because, yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're ready for the change. They have known this is coming. Every school has known it's coming. But USC prepared for it in such a genius way, and this is the last piece I'll talk about. As of today, June 7th, any new deal that is struck, negotiated, whatever, as of today, has to now go through that NIL Go clearinghouse. I think they have to start reporting it June 11th is when it officially opens. But the deal's starting today is what I've heard. If you've heard differently, let me know. But that's what I've heard and who I've talked to. Anything prior does not have to go through the clearinghouse process. So the fact that everyone was probably like, man, USC's really building this class quickly. Like, why? We're only in February. We're only in March. We're only in April. Like, they got a long way to go. Why are they adding so many recruits so early? Well, now all those 28 recruits, any of those that have deals and contracts in place, it's done. It's good. There's no approval process. It's all already done, taken care of. They don't got to go through the clearinghouse. Which even if they did, I think they would be approved anyway. But now you don't have to. So now on this official visit that's happening right now, which I've heard is going very well, I'll talk about that on another video, those new ones now they can put through, but they already got 28 in the bag. So these other schools that only have 6 or 7 or 8 commits, they're going to have to go through a process now for their remaining 10, 11, 12. USC's got to do it for, 3? 7 max if they do go to 35? I mean, it's honestly should be very exciting for fans knowing that everything, all the momentum you've seen from this program is not only real and bona fide, but it was actually like done with purpose. There was real, tangible strategy to what they've been doing and getting ahead of this and knowing this was coming and being prepared for it. Because, I mean, we've seen lots of programs, but we've seen even with USC when stuff comes and it's like, oh, we had no idea. And then they're like backpedaling and trying to catch up and trying to figure out. Like, this is the first time in a while where it's like, oh no, we're way ahead of the game. Like, we know exactly what's coming. We're prepared for it. We're good. Like, everyone else can eat our dust now because of how far we are ahead of you. Like, if that doesn't give you goosebumps, get you excited about this program, then you haven't been paying attention to what's going on. And there's still going to be learnings and falters, and this is not a perfect thing. They still are learning a bit on the fly. But absolutely, unequivocally, USC as a program is much farther ahead now than probably 99% of the programs out there. And they've set themselves up for the future with so much positive momentum. Good luck stopping it. Good luck stopping it. I don't know if it was just today or if I just got posted on X today, but Steve Wiltfong was within our good buddy JD Piquel on his on 3 show. And he said again, USC right now is the most powerful school in college football. Facts are facts. Now, go win on the gridiron. Power means nothing if you go 7-6 or 8-4. Go win 9, 10, 11 games, and then now moving forward, be in the college football playoff every single year. But for June, for a bombshell house settlement, for USC to be where they are, it's a good place to be. It's the place to be. Let me know your guys' thoughts. Got a forum question up on the LAFBnetwork.com forum. And I'm going to plug it every time. Head there, check it out. But obviously, comment below if you're on YouTube. USC LAFB is the channel. Hit that like and subscribe. Helps me out a ton. Salute to Troy is on audio if you prefer audio platform. And everything, as always, can be found on LAFBnetwork.com. Huge news. USC looking good. We'll have plenty more content coming. It was a big official visit weekend. And I've got some big news on some potential commitments coming out in the next video, so you don't want to miss that. As always, guys, fight on.